Hello and welcome to my channel. In today's episode, we'll create a simple Vue.js component that will help us encapsulate a layout of our application. But before we get started, let's give a shout to the sponsor of this episode, the SoftServe company. SoftServe is a company providing advisors, engineers, and designers to solve business challenges with innovative technology solutions. They provide a wide range of services in many areas such as engineering, cloud and DevOps, big data and analytics, artificial intelligence and machine learning, Internet of Things, experience design, cybersecurity, experience platforms, robotics, and general research and development. Okay, let's get started with coding. We'll begin with creating a simple Vue.js application displaying a hello world message to check if everything is working correctly. First, we need to import Vue from unpackage.com. Let's also create a placeholder for styles while we're at it. Then we'll create a div with ID app as the root of the application and display the message on the screen. In a new script block, we'll instantiate Vue, giving it the root element selector to the div we just created. Now, all that's left is the data with our message to be displayed on the screen. For development purposes, we'll use the live-server npm package, which will help us serve the application. The added bonus is that every time the file is saved, live-server will automatically reload the application in the browser. And everything works. Now let's place the app layout component in the root template. Since the app layout component is not defined yet, let's start by defining its layout. It will consist of 4 sections typical to many use cases. The header, the sidebar, main content, and a footer. To make sure Vue knows what we mean by the name app layout, we need to register it as a Vue component. Let's do that in the separate script block so that it stands out. All this component needs to know is the template. That was pretty easy. Since we already have a place where the main application content should be displayed, let's move our message there. Now that we have the markup properly structured, let's start styling our application. We'll take the mobile-first approach to make it easier for us to do a proper responsive design. The layout will be based on CSS3 Grid. For our use case, the best option is to go with grid areas, which will help us later on move things around on other screen sizes. Let's set the height of the rows, giving all the remaining space to the content area and setting the header, sidebar, and footer to a fixed size. Now we need to tell the grid how wide our columns should be. For mobile, we'll use the entire available space. With that done, the next thing to do is to name grid areas so that the grid system knows what we mean when referencing things like header or sidebar. While we're at it, let's give the elements some color to see where they are on the screen. Looking at the results, everything seems to be fine, but one small detail. The default styles add some margin and padding to the root element of the document. The result is our application is being slightly moved to the right and down, forcing it to have scroll bars. Let's fix that. Much better. Now that our application shows nicely on mobile, let's lay it out on a bigger screen. Let's say 500 pixels and above. For that, we'll use media queries and we'll overwrite the definition of the grid. This time, we'll stretch the entire application to 100% of the height of the viewport. We'll have 2 columns in our layout because we want the sidebar to be on the same grid row as the main content. Header and footer will span both those columns. Frankly, the HD resolution is a little much. Let's define another media query to limit the max width of the layout. Let's say for screen sizes bigger than 1200 pixels. We'll add anonymous columns to the template areas. This will allow us to specify max width of the entire application and fill the sides so that it looks nice and centered. And it works! It'd be great if we could reuse the app layout component in multiple applications. For that, we need to be able to place alternative content in places like header, footer, and sidebar. We'll do that by introducing name slots, thus allowing the user to change it at will. The content looks a little bit odd. Let's give it some padding. Let's see what happens when we have some content that extends beyond the available space. That's not good. It looks like our application layout grew beyond the available viewport, and once again we need to scroll the page. The fix is pretty easy though. We'll add the overflow auto property to the content in both desktop resolutions. That way, the content will get scrollbar and the entire page will look like a professional application. Okay, that's it for today's video. If you found it interesting, give it a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to not miss any new tutorials and click that bell button to get notified when new content is available. Till next time, bye bye!